Invite on stage the author of Eternal Echoes, Sadhguru. Before we move into the conversation, I'd like to invite on stage someone who's made a very significant contribution to this book, and that is the illustrator of this book, responsible for 12 chapter illustrations, and someone who works primarily with pen and pencil sketches, but has also been involved in many other fields of art. She is none other than Kaoruko Yamazaki. And to call her an illustrator is perhaps not entirely fair, because these sketches are not illustrations of the text as much as they are responses to it. I'd like to welcome on stage Kaoruko Yamazaki to say something about her journey.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, Arundhati. And okay. Yes. So before I move on to my main presentation tonight, I want to express my deepest gratitude to Sadhguru for this beautiful opportunity to rekindle my passion for art and explore a forgotten and hidden aspect of myself, and to share my work alongside your poetic masterpieces. So thank you so much. So how my journey started with this book was that in 2020, in the beginning of 2020, a dear friend of mine has encouraged me to restart my my drawing and art as a hobby. So I used to draw as a child, but it was a long forgotten hobby of mine. And around the same time, I happened to share a portrait of Anandamaima, an Indian saint that I've drawn 8 years ago with Sadhguru. This is one of a very rare piece that I've done as an adult. I haven't really drawn so much after I started my academic and financial career. So, and he liked it, and he wanted to actually, he suggested that I would do a portrait of Bijima. So I'm not sure whether it's on the screen. But yes, so I've, that time it was a lockdown in the ashram. I only had pen and pencil, so that was the only medium. And this is what I produced, yes. And initially it was daunting because I haven't drawn in 8 years, and I haven't really drawn or painted in almost 20 years, and I'm very much self-taught. But when I started working on the portrait, it just flew out as if it wanted to manifest on the paper. So the process was very natural, and I must say it was very spiritual and meditative process for me. And I must say I learned a lot about myself through this experience of creating this art. So I do recommend art as a meditative practice. I think one is able to explore a part of ourselves that's hidden from the mundane consciousness. So I would like to. So after that portrait, he suggested that I should do the illustration for this poem book, which was, and of course I said yes. I wouldn't let this opportunity slip by, but I was quite nervous about this. But he wanted the book to be divided into 12 themes. So I read all the poetries, categorized it into 12 themes, and the publication department also helped in finalizing these 12 themes. So tonight I would like to share 7 of that 12 drawings that I've done. So each drawings has many elements, with many interesting elements that is meant to invoke different interpretation in different people. So the drawings, I haven't, when I was working on it, I didn't have the final composition in my mind. So it evolved as I drew and I delved into the theme and the poetry. So I'm sure there are a lot of elements that people can discover and also find their own interpretation. So the first chapter is on life. So this work, as you can see, the main theme is the phases of the moon. And so the phases of the moon represent the cycle of female reproductive system, but also it represents the cycle of life. So I have the image of the fetus that's floating in cosmic womb, the galaxy. And I've etched a geometrical design to show that with the right clarity and perception, one can see order in chaos, seeming chaos in nature. So this is the first chapter. The second chapter is on death. So you can. Huh? Yes, there's that. Yes. So here you can see the skull, which represent death, but I included a lotus flower. And for me, lotus flower represent life, but also the flower of dispassion. So Sadhguru often speaks about the process of living death. So for one that's in touch with their own mortality and holds the beautiful flower of dispassion in one's heart, the beingness of that one is transparent and free of all distortion. So that's the state in which one can become a true offering in life. So for me, this lotus flower and the skull represent the beauty in the acceptance of death. And I've also included the image of moth, which is representation of transformation from one phase to the other. So the third illustration that I want to share, I think, is on yoga. Yes. Yes. So there is a lot of theme of duality and unity in this. So some of the main feature is the female yogini that represent the manifested material aspect of the world, and a faint silhouette of a yogi behind her that represent the masculine and unmanifested of the world. There is sun and moon, and there's many other elements with many interpretation. I will let you explore and come up with your own interpretation. Huh?
It's international imagery.
Yes, maybe. Yes.
Many cultures, I'm saying.
As many cultures, yes. Yes. So the fourth illustration that I would like to share is, I think, yes, Guru. So obviously this is Guru's lotus feet. And I've included 5 geometrical shape platonic solids, which actually represent 5 elements. And the infinity sign at the top that represent mastery of these 5 elements, the Guru's mastery over these 5 elements. So that's this picture. And the next one. Yes. So this is actually one of my favorite drawings. Initially, the face was clearer, and it's modeled on the face of Sadhguru in his 20s.
This is not how I looked, okay?
But he suggested that I should make it more abstract because everybody has their own image of Shiva in their mind, and it's better not to interfere or in other people's imagination of Shiva. So he actually gave me a very specific instruction to how to improve this drawing, and it really turned out much better than the original version. So, so I really like this drawing. So the next, this is mystical. So I love being in the Naga shrine, the snake shrine in the ashram. I always sit there, but for me that shrine and snake represent the mystical realm, and I've included the symbol of 7 chakras to represent transcendence into these mystical realms. So that's what I included here. So the last piece that I would like to share tonight is on the chapter on toil, human toil. And this is my most favorite chapter in the poetry book. And the most difficult, I really struggled to come up with the symbolism, but in the end I came up with the image of a man carrying a weight, climbing up the mount of skull and bones. Looking up heavenwards. So Sadhguru always speaks about how looking up heavenwards for a solution is a disaster. So this man is looking towards the destination that he will not reach, not knowing that he is stepping on the remains of others who's also embarked on the same journey that he has. And the bottom icon shows the trajectory of evolution of life on this planet. So initially it starts from the single-celled organism to all the animals. And you might not be able to see it, but at the end I included a skeleton of a dog. And I know that the dog accompanies Kala Bhairava, the Lord of Time. And so I would leave the interpretation of that last part to, yes. So this is the last illustration that I would like to share tonight. But I would like to give special thanks to Greta Corey, who's worked on this beautiful graphics and icons in this book. Also, Munsami Nagarajan and Kashinath Gopagani for working on the design aspect.
Are they Japanese guys?
No, I'm really sorry. Maybe I butchered their names, but yes. So and the people in the impressions and publication department, and also, of course, the Mas and Swamis, who's too shy and humble for their name to be mentioned in this presentation. But thank you so much for the support. And to end this presentation, I would like to say that this book will be a companion to my spiritual journey. It's much more than just the poetry. There's so much layers of meanings and insights. And I know that it would accompany me everywhere I go. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you so much for letting me share part of my journey with you tonight.
Thank you, Kay.